do. Hi, chat. Oh, I'm not gonna lie. I'm eepy. Very eepy. But today is yet another Warhammer Wednesday. A day where we read more of the Infinite and the Divine. I'm going to try to get another 50 pages done. Our goal is to make it all the way to page 200. Go on, kitty cat. I know you like moving around in my lap a lot, but I got to read the book, and I can't have you in lap while I read the book. The positioning is weird. AP is temporary. Reading the AP of the mind is forever. Well, we'll see if I it all depends if I pass out on the stream or not. I'm hoping not. Thanks for letting you in the Discord. It's fine. It's what it's there for. The Discord is there for people to hang out in. If anybody is new who is wanting to join and is over the age of 18, you are free to join in on the Discord. Hey, kitty cat. It's also kind of like the most surefire way of knowing when I go live. and whatnot. Because usually I make my YouTube thumbnails usually like the day before the streams. This time I made them on Monday because, you know, yeah, I locked in. I had to lock in on that one. Which, you know, that was pretty good. I was proud of that because Tuesday came along and was like, yeah, I could do other things. Saw Schedule 1 video, had to buy it. Dude, I have to buy it too. I'll probably stream it next week. I'll most likely stream it next week, Schedule 1. Dude, Freakazoid's hilarious. I love that, man. And Schedule 1 just looks like a good game. Definitely one of the games. Like kitty cat. But I definitely want to put out more reaction videos. I'll probably make a new chat in the Discord. So if people want to make recommendations, you know, you just post it in there. It probably won't be like if you make a recommendation, blah, 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 it won't be. It probably won't be like a full-on guarantee that I'll watch it, but it'll have a higher possibility of it being watched. Because, like, I've seen a lot of things on YouTube, so there could be a chance of what you're posting. I've probably already seen it before. And whatnot. But, yeah. I would so love to do more stuff like that. Watch this pants grab? No. No. Watch your own pants grab. Hi, kitty cat. I got my cat on my lap. She fits on my lap, therefore she sits on my lap. Which is totally fine. I got the fan going on, and then I got the cat on my lap. So, cold in the air, but I got a warm cat on my lap, which is nice. Super duper nice. Cat throne. It is indeed. My lap is a throne for this cat and this cat alone. No other cat that I have sits on my lap but this one. It's the only one that sits on my lap. I think this is the cat that loves me the most out of all 5. She's a spoiled brat. Good for nothing. But she's my spoiled brat who's good for nothing. Human is my property, man. Pretty much, yeah. Because like the way how cats think, like if you have a pet cat, the house that you and your cat live, or the place, it's the cat's place. They just let you live there. The cats think they own it. They just allow you to live there. That's how that works in a cat's mind. In 5 cats, all I hear is one of you will betray me. Ah, it's fine. It's totally fine. The 5 cats, one for each member of the family, you know, because each cat loves one family member the most. Well, maybe except for one. One of the cats just like it doesn't matter. It really doesn't care as long as she gets pet. That's pretty much how that goes. But Miracle, she's the one who likes me the most. There's Ghost, he likes my mom the most. Ginger likes the middle sister the most. Zoe likes my dad the most. And then the 5th one, Lynx, she just likes she just likes everybody. Just pet her. That's it. She's the most I don't care, just pet me cat. Even when it comes to new people, she's so not afraid of new people. It's just, hey, pet me. Give me head pets. I'm not gonna leave it till you give me them. I'm gonna ask for more. I'll ask for more. More head pets. Give them me. All the head pets. I've always liked head pet redeem when, where, how. I could probably set up one. Oh, I need to get a head pet thing. I think I asked another VTuber friend of mine for the head pet thing. I'd have to buy it, but it's like a couple bucks, which is fine. Cat sounds like it came with a dog preset. I wouldn't say that. More like they're all spoiled. That's just it. They're all my cats are just spoiled, but that's our fault. My family spoiled all of them. I like throughout, you know, like no matter how old the internet gets, like one of the most popular things on the internet is going to be cats. No matter what. It's always going to be up there along with the top, a lot of the top of other things, but cats will probably never be dethroned off the internet. Cats are eternal. Especially on the internet. Like I guarantee, like if we go look at like videos that were posted on the internet in like the 2000s, like cat videos from the 2000s, there probably would still pretty much be the same. Like the cats would probably still act the same as they do now, and we still find it just as entertaining. It is so nice. But yeah, that's so good. All right, let us continue, because the infinite and the divine is not going to read itself. Well, I mean, unless there's an audiobook, in which case then it can read itself. But right now, we start off on page 150. I think we actually start all the way on the top this time. Yeah. So where we left off, Mr. Orikan the Diviner has gained some incredible power. And he's been spending the last few centuries not only learning how to control this power, but also trying to solve the puzzle of the Mysterios. And trying to get this trying to gain access to a certain Necron. Got that dog in me. I grew up with dogs all my life, but now it's time for kitty Necron court. For catty Necron court drama. But yeah, Orikan. I think Orikan was about to solve another step to the puzzle, and then Trazyn bursted in, and then the shenanigans are continuing on from there. Mm-hmm. But okay. Okay, Mr. Trazyn and Orikan. Honestly, I'm quite curious to see how Trazyn will go up against Orikan in his newfound powers, especially after he got a few centuries to master them. I do like how time jumps in the Infinite and the Divine are not just centuries passing, but also like thousands of years passing. Which to me is hilarious because obviously they can afford that amount of time to pass because they're immortal. But it's just goofy to me. I don't know why. Because like I think at the beginning of the book we were pre-heresy. Heck, we were probably even No, probably not pre-humanity probably. But we were definitely pre-heresy at the beginning of the book, and now we've flown past the heresy. I don't think we're in modern day yet. I don't think we're in modern day Warhammer yet. But we're definitely past the heresy because Trazyn has a piece in his museum all about the Horus heresy. I just find it goofy. That's all. Anyway, page 150. 2-minute pee break and Necron times are 500 years standard time. Yeah, that's about right. Like Necron plays have been known to last like over a decade because like nobody has to like eat food, go to the bathroom, sleep, so they can sit there for the decade. They can unironically, Necrons can unironically do a play reenactment of the entirety of One Piece in one sitting, even with all the filler arcs. Heck, probably throwing the movies in there as well, you know? They can do all that. They got the immortality for it. Oh, anyway. Page 150, starting at the very top here. Oh, also, again, be patient with me. It's gonna take me a while to get it back into the groove of reading, because I only read when it's time to do this. Then he faced spots of incandescent. Yeah. Then he faced spots of incandescent jade light breaking out on him like sores. Sores that unmade him. Widening? Swords that unmade him, widening to reveal nothing inside their expanding borders, but the crystal window and decking behind. I almost read that as mind, but it is decking behind. You okay? Inflicted mental damage. No, I came across a word that needed a little bit extra brain power to say, and even then, I still think I said it wrong. In an instant, he was gone, back to a new body. Gifts? Said Orikan. He crouched over the Mysterios, examining its sides, measuring it. It was wrong. Trazyn had disabled it. The glyphs were all a match, the angles and faces correct, but it was missing a vibration, that sense of confluence. One of the sides sprung open, an intricate hatchway that Orikan had never seen spilled prismatic light. He leaned to look into it. They were on him immediately. Writhing and biting, legs scoring trenches in his armored body. Mandibles digging deep into the living metal of his head and arms. He tried to beat them away, but they snapped and swallowed his fingers. Man, this Orikan's getting eaten alive right now. Orikan said the word of Pharos, blue flame leaping from his body, and finally the creatures retreated to the shadows, scrambling into ducks and scarab hatches. Sparking, wounded, Orikan looked into what he had thought was the Mysterious. A disguised Tesseract vault, the kind Trazyn used for his samples. And next to it, a necrodermis sheet letter that had ejected from the device. Along with the creatures, it bore the marks of alien mandibles, but it was still legible. Greetings, Orikan, it began. I apologize for having to borrow back my astrium. I know deeply you appreciated it, but you worked too hard, my astromancer. Consider this a relaxing break. And what is more relaxing than a hunt? Orikan heard legs scraping in the scarab's vents. Interstitial messages alerted him that a scarab swarm and 2 wraiths were reporting in as inoperable. These creatures will make fine quarry. They're from an Imperial? Okay, they're from an imperial jungle planet. Also so famous that the locals named their local regiment after them. Highly venomous. Not that it would bother you, dear colleague. And can grow over 15... Hut? Yeah. And can grow over 15 hut long when they reach maturity. But the real challenge is how quick they breed. In fact, if you want my advice, I would start the pursuit quickly. 14 juveniles were in this particular gift. Or was it 16? Anyway, with 12 hours, the population will have established roving kin groups to place their eggs. Did I forget to mention the eggs? Half of the breeding pairs already have sex. The population will double in less than 24 hours, provided they don't eat too many of the young. Happy hunting! Oh my goodness. I love Trazyn so much. He took the thing, placed a fake thing in its place, and it happened to be a trap that released a lot of insects that can breed and spread very quickly. It's like, hey, have fun. All right, I'm gonna take this thing now. You have a fantastic time hunting these creatures. Okay, I'm gonna see ya. Have a recommendation for another book? Maybe. I'll have to think about it. Serenade. 2007 years until the next Astrum opening. Trazyn did not like hunting Necrons. He was no stranger to dynastic wars. Before biotransference, the dynasties had fought each other in vicious succession, wars and blood feuds. His culture built whole rituals, religious and civil, prescribing the proper method of wrapping war against one's own kind. And Trazyn had been on the gory fields of those battles, as an observer, not a combatant, but still. And there were some of his kind Trazyn would gladly kill. A certain astrology adult, plate-faced stargazer, for example. Orikan. Yet this was different. This was extermination. The Eldari had vanished, slain or fled. Trazyn did not know, but he suspected both. Their world spirit destroyed. They would have had cause to run, and on arrival of his orbital scryers, had detected the ruined structure of a webway portal constructed from immense saurian bones. Orikan had, in a way, been right. The Exodites have lived here, but it was not their home world. They were refugees, fleeing from a thirsting god, and finding this planet no longer safe. They struck camp and moved on. They were fleeing from Slanesh. I have a feeling that he is thinking it is okay. It's kind of a book that will blow your mind. It's called the Necronomicon. I don't think I'm going to read the Necronomicon. I don't think I would want to read a Necronomicon. There's a Minecraft mod that adds a Necronomicon, but yeah, I don't think I'd want to read that. Coward. Excuse me. Okay. The humans he'd captured, merely for interrogation, not acquisition, had little idea of the Eldari had ever been there. Clad in feather cloaks and imperial body gloves, they told Trazyn fantastical stories about a primordial past, when the Emperor and his angels had called this world home. The Emperor himself had called the great structures from the earth, growing them from the planet itself. They looked strange, yes, but many things from the otherworldly age would look strange to us now. And so they set statues of imperial saints in the niches of Eldari houses and weather vanes, believing them temples raised by the withered god king of Terra. Their manuscripts, while rare, showed altered calligraphic style that was decidedly rune-like, no doubt copied from what script remained of the buildings. The Emperor's base spaced elves cringe. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. Yeah. Once Trazyn had seen a chapel of Saint Eustace? Yeah. Of Saint Eustace of the Void outfitted in a scallop shell outbuilding. Imperial symbols exploited over the doorways because the settlers' nails could not penetrate the bone. The building, Trazyn realized, had been a sewage processing station. But these stories, the odd feather cloaks of the deviant calligraphic script, were not his concern. He wanted to know about the metal men. Orikan had unleashed 112 destroyers. Why that number? Trazyn did not know, but he assumed it was once numerological nonsense that, no doubt, the diviner found extremely significant. Ah, yes, Trazyn, the crusader of the Galactic British National Museum. Men of Iron? Where did I read Men of Iron? I read he wanted to know about the metal men. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne, milk for the cornflakes. Milk for the cornflakes. Corn requires milk for his cornflakes. Trazyn had seen evidence of them on his previous site surveys. He liked to check in briefly on Seraphel. Or Serenade? Whatever they called it. To take readings in preparation for the opening. Have his angels covered. His return visit to the previous opening location was disheartening in the extreme. You didn't read them, but I'm guessing he is referring to the Men of Iron. Ah, okay. Okay. It was barren rock, scored of life down to its volcanic soil. Destroyers started with the apex predators and Destroyers started with the apex predators and worked their way down. The Eldari first, then the Saurons. Yeah. Then the large carnivores. Anything below that was no threat to them, so they switched to the bottom of the food chain. Clear cut the plant life, vaporizing trees and ground covering plants with great fan arcs from their Gauss blasters. Boiled the lakes and streams so no fresh water remained. They were mathematically thorough, ensuring no habitat or food source remained for the insects. Once the insects disappeared, the small amphibians and reptiles went within a few years, growing skeletal and desperate until their leathery skins lay on the bare earth. A sad bag for brittle bones. Saurons, is that how it's pronounced? Okay. Though these two, the destroyers, atomized. That's it. I know, atomized. Yeah, no. These two, the destroyers, atomized because they knew that death could bring new life. Indeed, it had taken them several decades to sterilize that first island, since the 21 destroyers remaining, many fell in combat with the Eldari or the Great Saurons. Frequently had to double back and eradicate regrowth. It was their thoroughness, Trazyn reflected, that had kept them from scoring the whole planet. They killed all organisms down to the microbes before moving on. And life was tenacious in this verdant... Oh, that's a word. Archipelago. Yeah, in this verdant archipelago. The geography too worked against them. One great continent, their tactics could easily lead to worldwide environmental collapse. The effects radiating outward as species migrated and fire spread. On an island, the damage was contained. But 4,500 years was a long time, even to a Necron. In that time, the destroyers had migrated along the archipelago, heading southwest towards the megacontinent that covered the other hemisphere. Over 3 millennia, they'd scoured 2,000 of the archipelago's 10,000 islands clean. Most were uninhabited by sentient life, and what habitats they had, Eldari. Then human did occasionally take one down. There were only 12 remaining when they reached the mainland, and the true slaughter began. The megacontinent was an environmental collapse. Indeed, most humans had chose to settle on the islands, the seat of imperial power, such as it was, partially due to the rumors of evil creatures living on the mainland. This was a frontier continent on a frontier world, wild and untamed. For what was left of it, the Saurons were gone. Smaller specimens remained, but the ecosystem could no longer support such large creatures. Trazyn looked up to see the sun filtered through the veil of smoke that weathered the world. It was from burning rainforest. He tracked them for 6 years. Difficult since the volcanic soil befouled his sensors. Objects under the surface could not be detected at all. And he suspected that it was not just the vast gulfs of space that made translation difficult on Serenade, but transportation had to be done by night scythe, ghost orc, or on foot. His few survey explorations into the cave system suggested that if a Necron died beneath the surface, they cannot be phased back to the tomb worlds for repair. He'd been chasing a nomad story about evil spirits when he found them. There were 3 of them, at least fully operative. A fourth, Trazyn had found 100 leagues behind. His repulsor array torn from his body in a long ago battle. Still, he pulled his legless form across the scorched dirt, blasting insects to ash with his malfunctioning Gauss cannon, pulverizing worms with his deathless hands. Trazyn had decapitated the destroyer with a single disgusted blow from his obliterator, then continued hammering. He thought about the feather cloak he'd brought back from his visit to this planet. How it shimmered with Curulene? No, Curulene. Yeah, Curulene. Curulene. And turquoise. That word's turquoise. I knew that one. Turquoise, gold, and vermilion. When he adjusted the light, he thought about what the birds who produce such feathers, birds he wanted to collect in a frozen aviary, would have looked like in a display. As he traveled this continent, the cloaks had got shorter and shorter. Siblings cannibalized their parents' cloaks to make their own because the birds now only existed in the high mountains. Trazyn tossed the head of the decapitated destroyer at the remaining trio. It bounced off the thorax carapace of the leader and came to rest in front of them. Viridian smoke still leaking from its mouth. Their Gauss cannons, dripping Necron condensate? Yeah. Dripping Necron condensate from overuse, stopped firing. They pivoted. "Hail," said Trazyn. "To whom do I speak?" The destroyers buzzed and crackled, their vocal actuators trying to remember how to form words. "I am Lord Ketva of the Locust," said one in the center. "You have slain one of my servants." "Yes." Trying to flip the page here. "Good. He was inefficient, suboptimal. He no longer embodied the ideal of annihilation. All life must end, including ours. To cease to exist is the happy fate of all who served the great scoring." "Then I have good news," Trazyn said, unable to conceal his distaste. "Your happy fate has come. By my protocol rights as Overlord, I hereby release you from your mission programming. Come with me, and I will repurpose you. There are tasks for you on Solomon's." "Negative," responded Ketva. "Our mission is incomplete. We are working our way south to the pole. Once melted, the resultant influx of fresh water still desalinate. Water will still desalinate. Will desalinate the oceans, killing the that's a word. The phytoplankton? Killing the phytoplankton that manufacture the majority of this world's oxygen. The resulting mass extinction will allow us to score this world in 2 millennia rather than 6. We will leave any Necron structures untouched, as we agreed with the Astromancer. You may do with those what you will. No, said Trazyn. I think not. Why? Because there are still things here that I want, Trazyn answered, and tossed the Tesseract labyrinth. The destroyers surged forward, repulsors humming, spinning up to a howl. Gauss blasters spewed jade thunderbolts. They crawled through the air, dancing within a ropey tube field of their disassembly beams. Trazyn activated the cloak, chose his path, and ducked and threw himself aside as the earth where he was standing vanished. Ducked and threw himself aside as the earth where he was standing vanished, puffed into a cloud of ash shavings. He wormed between the beams, summoned the obliterator, and lit its great lantern-like emitter chamber so it glowed with a sinister light. The destroyers stalled. Murderous, nihilistic killers they were. The glow of this ancient weapon still overwhelmed their neural threat networks with a thing that was very much like dread. Trazyn activated the Tesseract labyrinth. A cone of light spilled upwards, engulfing the destroyers, bathing their dented faces in illumination so bright it washed out their colors, so they appeared as grimacing skeletons stretched in black and white. And like the disassembly beams of their Gauss weapons, it took them apart, drawing them into the box. Trazyn was alone in the scarred field. He stayed until sunset, watching the fires of the forest's canopy until they died into whispering smoke. A fine addition to the collection, he thought. The destroyer lord here nearly wiped out a planet. When he returned, chaos ruled on Solomons. After 4,500 years of rivalry, it was clear Trazyn had needed a new security solution. The Mysterious was not safe in Trazyn's possession, nor was it secure when housed in its proper gallery. But the prismatic galleries were a vast, confusing place. When I hate words I can't pronounce. Winding spiral corridors. Objects from every major alien species rammed cheek by jewel. Time periods intermixed. Billion-year-old relics held next to recent acquisitions. Hi, kitty cat. You're sitting on my mouse. Galleries that held life-size dioramas? Entered the battlefields with thousands of troops frozen in mortal struggle. Even Trazyn found it difficult to recall exactly what it contained. His rack of Adeptus Astartes helmets had grown so large and convoluted that he needed mnemonic charts to sort the Firehawks from the Flame Eagles. That mix of time periods, Trazyn knew, fouled Orikan's abilities. A fact he'd exploited for the last few millennia by stashing the Astra Mysterios at random locations in his collection. Orikan had broken in, of course, but he unusually didn't cause much damage. Staying stealthy, Trazyn supposed. He moved it on occasion to keep things interesting. But in retrospect, it was probably a mistake putting it in the Angelus display. Deep, rigid Tyrus, deep, rigid Tyrus tore at the chalky earth, sending up twin plumes of dust that spread out from the orc truck like a wake. It slewed sideways, drifting, two wheels leaving the ground as if it might go over. Then it slammed down on the bouncing suspension and clawed towards Trazyn. Stasis field failure. That meant one thing. The idiot had finally found the Mysterios. Meaning the orcs were loose and doing what orcs did in their natural state, which was fight each other. You're saying big words, little man. You can do it. I'm definitely saying big words, and these big words are kicking my ass. But from what I can gather, it seems that Trazyn hid the Mysterios in an orc gallery, and he successfully broke into said gallery, and as a result, some of the orcs got free, and now they're fighting each other. Orcs like a good spat. Orcs do like a good spat. This is so true. Orcs do like a good kerfuffle. They like themselves a good fight. Don't let the big words win. I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to. Trucks and buggies howled corkscrews across the display, ripping across the desert shanty town built around the enormous idol of Gork, or Mork. Trazyn's investigation had turned up mixed answers on exactly whom it represented. The truck bore down on him, and Trazyn swept the obliterator back, calculating his strike. The knob riding in the back planted his foot on the driver's seat for balance and extended the crude slugga. Taking what I smell food. Taking what counted for orcs as aim. The driver, his seat shoved forward by the knob's boot, drove with his massive goggles only a hair above the steering wheel. "Oi, shiny git!" the knob bellowed, and emptied his magazine. Bullets the size of human tongues, and about as dangerous, whistled past Trazyn. One clanged off his forehead. This knob was clearly a marksman. Trazyn slammed the ground ahead of the trucks, denting the earth in a pothole wide as a battle tank. Cracks jagged out towards the oncoming trees. The truck nosed down and pitched forward, the knob howling in delight as he went suddenly airborne. Those inside who had unwisely held on wailed in sudden fear as the truck flipped forward, crushing them into green fungal paste. A dazed Grot, miraculously unharmed, staggered from the wreck. Trazyn kicked it into the spikes of a still rotating tray. Bring it in, he shouted. The catacomb command barrage sailed above. That was loud. The catacomb commanded barrage sailed above the motorized brawl. Its two hardwired pilots head down at their consoles. Headless of the anarchy beneath them, Trazyn cut his way towards it, scattering a horde of Gretchen who came at him waving a tattered red flag. Vile little hands grasped at his cloak. Yellow teeth set in, receding gums gnawed at his shins and thighs. Nuisance, 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 he shouted, stomping them beneath his feet. Shaking the last clinging grot from his leg and leaping into its command dais. I can only imagine how I picture this in my head is Trazyn like entering in like an orc vehicle that's housing a bunch of other orcs, and the orcs are like, "Hey, get this fool!" And then Trazyn's just like beating him up and then tossing him out the door he walked in, like cartoon style. The crescent shape of the command barrage rose, slugga and shooter rounds pitting off its armored underside. In the distance across the golden dunes, Trazyn could see the unruptured wreck of a starship. There it is. Mounted outriders weaved along the crests of the sand dunes, spindly Giselles? Okay. Spindly Giselles, saving the motorized orcs with harassing fire. One of his larger displays, one of his better displays, it had taken him nearly 50 years to capture the eternal chaos of this place. To choreograph the hacking melees and hairpin turns. Weary juveniles lipping between speeding vehicles. He hoped some of it could be salvaged. The command barrage shot upward along the swollen belly of the great idol. Shots penned out of the idol's interior, puncturing its patchwork skin, and Trazyn realized the fighting had reached inside it. Best stop this, he thought. Sanet? Working to restore stasis fields, High Archivist, came the interstitial reply. Work faster. We don't want them turning this contraption on. Do you think the engine works? Sanet replied. Engines, corrected Trazyn. There are armored 70. There are around 70, not armored. There are around 70. Depending on one's definition of engine, get those fields up, Sanet. I don't want it to be in orbit. Bolts along the side of the idol blew. A gantry flew away and commanded barrage made a sickening dip to avoid being struck from the sky. Authenticity be damned, thought Trazyn. Next time I acquire a rocket, I'm displaying it without fuel. Why are you displaying it with fuel in the first place? That seems kind of dangerous. Then he saw it, a figure standing in the idol's left eye, the place where he, perhaps a bit too cleverly, had hidden the Astarium Mysterios. His oculars enhanced the image, scrubbed out the interference. He already knew what he would find. Orikan, his necrodermis scratched and dinged from his fighting ascent up the interior idol. Clearly, things had not gone precisely to plan for him either. In one hand, he held the Astarium Mysterios, its metal skin glowing as if pleased by the reversal. Yeah, glowing as if pleased by the reversal. Orikan stabbed his staff downward, and another gantry blew its bolts and flew away, unnaturally toppling towards the barge. Trazyn threw stasis field, halting it in the air until they passed, then let it go. Watched it crush a shanty town district he designed, room by room. Above him and through the roar of the growling rocket boosters, he could hear Orikan laughing. Trazyn looked up at him again. He could feel his central reactor cycling cycling hard in fury, as if it might burst. Restoration calculations returned a work estimate that fluctuated just under 1 million man-hours. A century of effort wasted. And if the idle rocket took off, it would be terrible. Yeah, terrible that. Oh, 3-minute ad break is starting soon. Trazyn felt witness on his cheeks and realized he was weeping oil. Lord, it was Sanet. 20 seconds to liftoff. Trazyn knew why Orikan laughed. Trazyn could either save the Mysterios or the gallery, and they both knew which he would pick. He grabbed his override control orb, redirected the barrage, sweeping it around to the side where one of the gantries had separated. Pulled it up to a closed hatch. 15 seconds. Trazyn ripped the hatch open with his bare hands, the metal frame bending like pressed tin under his enraged grip. Yeah. Set it aside to reattach later. 11 seconds. He summoned the obliterator. The chamber inside was nothing like any spacecraft Trazyn was used to. A drum-like deck filled with crude tables and chairs. Random machinery hanging from the ceiling. Barrels of fungus beer slopping with reverberation of the misfiring engines. And a command throne with 2 buttons. Go and stop. A hulking orc sliced him with a clever-like choppa, and he crushed its meaty chest with a swing of the obliterator. Then he reversed, stabbing the staff through a wiry green-skinned skull as it approached his blind side. 8 seconds. He cut through the crowd. Reaching hands grasped him to pull down, and he sent a jolt of crawling electricity through his systems to shake them off. 6 seconds. The room shook. A mech boy loomed from the shadows. Electrodes crackling from the mad machinery that sprouted from his back and shoulders. A localized storm flashed around the balls of the ionized gas that whirled above his head like a turbine. Ball lightning leapt from the muzzle of his fluted electrogun, and Trazyn staggered. Security system fizzing with overload. He doubled over, the world turning ashen and out of focus like a bad projection. Then he redirected the energy bolt through his staff and blew the mech boy back. Blew the mech boy back. His muscles in spasm and harnessed apparatus spinning out of control. 4 seconds. He stepped up to the control throne, and the meganob sitting in it rose to meet him. The thing was huge. Trazyn had installed it himself, picking the biggest, meanest specimen he could find. The slab-like mega armor, thick as a tank glasses, seemed impenetrable. Great curved horns rose from his skull cap. He roared a low guttural sound that burst from his purple throat with almost physical force. Termite squigs tunneled in his gold-capped fangs. 3 seconds. The power claw caught Trazyn's arm as he brought the obliterator down, bending his humerus the wrong way. Metal reddened. Hydraulics? Yeah, hydraulics popped. Reactor fluid spouted from Trazyn's severed arm as howling alert fields in his vision. as howling alerts filled his vision. 2 seconds. Trazyn turned his squirting arm towards the beast's face, and it bellowed as the gushing neon fluid burned out its eyes. 1. Trazyn seized the beast by a horn and slammed its face down on the stop button. Okay, we're going to stop right there because we got a few seconds before the ad break starts. Oh man, Trazyn's really in an intense situation. If I'm going to be honest, I don't think that button's actually going to work because like how orc technology works, it works in the orc's hands, but as soon as any other species gets it in their hands, it doesn't work because they don't have their power of belief. So I highly doubt that stop button's gonna work. I think it's just gonna do the pew. It's gonna lift off. Though I will say it is kind of Trazyn's fault for leaving fuel in said rocket. Why would you do that? It's like, you know, Orikan is going to try to sabotage. You're going to try and sabotage your exhibits to get what he wants because he knows you'll try to fix the exhibits before even thinking about dealing with Orikan. Orikan's strategy is always sound in a sense of just break Trazyn's exhibits and he'll just straight up ignore him, which I find hilarious. But okay, the ad break has started. I hope you all are enjoying the reading just as much as I am. I'm enjoying my time here. It is nice, you know? It's a nice feeling getting to read a book that actually has proper Warhammer lore on it. And, you know, I do enjoy watching YouTube videos that lored up. I feel like I might enjoy the YouTube videos a little bit more rather than just reading a book. But it is good to say that I've read a Warhammer book, or I'm currently reading one, and then finish reading it, you know? That's always nice. Dude, I can't wait for tomorrow. I feel like tomorrow's stream is going to be a fun one because me and the homie Jordan, we're going to be playing Carry the Glass. We played Carry the Glass before. I'm trying to finish the... Oh, you're trying to finish a game before the 5-hour mark before the achievement? Oh, okay. You got to beat the game at a certain speed so you can get an achievement. I understand. But no, yeah. Me and the homie Jordan, we are going to be playing Carry the Glass. And I feel like that one's going to be a fun one because while we have played it before, I have a whole YouTube video on it. Go check that out. It was pretty good. We're going to be playing in hard mode so we can get the rest of the achievements because Jordan really likes to get all the achievements in games, and Carry the Glass, you do need 2 people. You can't do it on just one. I mean, technically you can. But you're gonna need like a whole second PC and you gotta control 2 people. But anyway. Finish in 5 hours of playtime. You know, Factorio has a similar achievement where you got to beat the game in less than, like, what was it, 8 hours? So I know that's cool. But all right, the ad break is over. Welcome back, people. Welcome back. Oh, it's absolutely hilarious. The orcs are messing around Trazyn's museum. And you know Trazyn is incredibly annoyed by it because the orcs will not listen. They just want to fight. They so just want to fight. And we just got to the point here where Trazyn pressed the stop button, but I have a sneaking suspicion that that stop button is not going to work because, you know, with orc stuff, it works in the orcs' hands, but when some other people get it, it's just a pile of junk because they don't have the belief power that the orcs do. So this is going to be hilarious if Orikan press the stop button and it does not stop. It just still goes. So let's find out and see if his efforts were for nothing or he actually got to stop and he saved his exhibit to an extent. Got to get some new orcs, but still. Then, exhausted and surrounded by the howls of the barbarian orcs, he slowed his chronosense and collapsed into the command chair. Oh, okay, it did stop, it seems like. It was, he told himself, only for a moment, but he had to collect himself if he was to fight his way out. With time slowed and the world moving as if underwater, it took Trazyn a moment to realize what was happening. The orcs were not shouting war cries or preparing to rush the throne. They were howling, cheering, enthralled by the spectacle of violence he demonstrated for them. They were still cheering when the stasis field locked them in place. Trazyn slumped in the chair, trying to imagine what he could salvage from the display. Not his pride, he decided. Okay, so it did work. Please stop fighting me and follow me to your exhibit. What? You just want to fight? You just want to fight? No, it looks like the orcs respected him because Trazyn actually gave them a good fight. I will admit, if you can give the orcs a good fight, they will respect you. And then they will return the next day with more orcs because they told more orcs that there's a good fight over here and they came along for a good fight. You can never get rid of them. But in this case, he put them in a stasis field, so there's no way they can go tell other orcs. Mandragora, 897 years until the next Astrum opening. Orikan had just turned the corner when he saw the Deathmark step out of the hyperspace oblet. Its long and deadly form slid from the pocket dimension where it had waited for him. Its long, deadly form slid from the pocket dimension where it had waited for him. Dead gods knew how long. God, that almost gave me a stroke. Oh, goodness. And then more orcs are born, and then they are told that there's a good fight over the Oh, yeah. When the wall happens, they release the spores that spread it more. But again, stasis field, so they can't do none of that. It leveled a long synaptic disintegrator. It leveled a long synaptic disintegrator. The glow from the viridian bulbs lighting the one-eyed killer's face as its death mask ran like wax and solidified into Trazyn's features. Really, Trazyn? The diviner sniffed. Have you sunk to have you snuck into base assess? The disintegrator shot punched through Orikan's big central ocular. Its balefire howling through its carnal structure like a sandstorm through a ruined temple. Emerald flames burst from his mouth. His shattered ocular ringed its head like a crown. His necrodermis blackened. Orikan dropped, hands clawing, fingers starting to phase, eaten by glowworms of portal light. His charred skull crunched as he spoke. I don't have the Mysterios. You can keep it, said Trazyn, stepping back into his hyperspace obolete. Huh. Okay. Not like Trazyn to be like, just keep it. I just keep it. Holy crap, this is a big jump. 50 years until the next Astarium opening. All right. Turning endlessly in the eternal night, frozen in brief. That was Klebnos, a drifting asteroid of interest to no one. A being could walk its prime meridian in 2 hours. It only carried a name because the crown world of Geddon, you can see it transit with the naked eye, making it to the ancient Necrontyr, at least worthy of being anointed with language. Its other unimportance? Oh, unimportance. I am so stupid. Oh my goodness. It's unimportance. That's the word. The word is unimportance. And I use that word a good chunk too. Its utter unimportance, while technically being under the protection of the Nehalak dynasty, was in fact why Trazyn had picked it for the meeting. You are the planetary governor, and orcs come to your system. Landing in your planet, they come in peace and prepares bases in your planet, saying, this will be the biggest fight yet. They aren't killing you or each other. How scared are you? If the orcs are coming, not swinging, but preparing for what they call the biggest fight yet, that means more orcs are coming, and I should summon Yarrick as fast as humanly possible. Because I would need that man. I would be panicking, trying to get Yarrick as fast as possible, for he would be the best man to counter the orcs. Not to mention, a man that the orcs highly respect, because he fights like an orc and is capable of constantly giving him a good fight. We all need that man. We do all need that man. But yeah, I would constantly scramble to try to get Yarrick. If it is during the time period where he is, you know, around, because like he's probably dead. He's not confirmed dead, but he's probably dead because not who is that Cornate worshiper, the one that has the kill counter? What was his name? I forget. He was a Cornate worshiper. He has a kill counter on his visor. Either way, Karn, that was it. Yeah, because it's hinted that Karn might have killed him because Karn swung his axe, his kill counter went up by 1, and on his belt is a skull that kind of looks like Yarrick's. It kind of resembles him. But it's not completely confirmed that Yarrick is dead. So we'll see about that. However, the orcs do believe that Yarrick is dead because one of the biggest orcs. one of the biggest orcs sees that skull, thinks it's Yark, stops his entire wall, which I think was about to invade Terra or was invading Terra, and then aims it directly at Karn. Karn, the betrayer leader, comes sitting in a corner, sharpening his axe, saying, "Oh, get some more skulls for the skull throw this way." He stops talking, sitting quietly, awaiting for the unknown force. Yeah. Neutral ground in a technical sense, but any aggression could precipitate a dynastic war. Of course, the last time Trazyn had met Orikan 8 centuries ago, he had blown open the Chronomancer's cranium. Orikan and his entourage of canoptic wraiths were already standing on the small asteroid when Trazyn arrived. His personal night scythe dropping low to discourage him and his Lichguard escorts through its underside portal. That's when you know you're cooked. Yeah, that's definitely when you know you're cooked, man. It hovered there, active, ready to depart within seconds. The two sides came within speaking distance and stopped, scrying each other. Out in the dark, contrails formed as doomed scythes circled, ready to mark targets and annihilate the rival delegation. Ready to mark targets and annihilate the rival delegation at the slightest hint of violence. "I suggest," Trazyn began, "you start by turning over what you promised." Orikan nodded, opened a dimensional pocket, and stretched out his hand. The Astra Mysterios drifted weightless, tracking a soft parabola between the rivals. "Catch it," Trazyn ordered the Lich Guard. In case it's a vortex bomb." The soldier obediently stretched out and let the black metal object descend into its unruptured palm. Into his unturned palms. My bad. It did not explode, and a thorough septromanic bombardment assured Trazyn it was genuine. "Your part of the bargain is done," said Trazyn, "so I will fulfill mine in kind. You have 5 minutes to explain what is so almighty important." Orikan took a step forward. He appeared, Trazyn thought, to be in a bad way. Scratches raked across his unpolished necrodermis. His ocular and orb crest appeared dim and fatigued, as if he'd worked long hours without maintenance or refurbishment. "A vortex bomb considered my drawers soiled." "An orc invasion has come to Seraphil, or rather, Serenade, the tomb complex of Sepphoris. And you care about a few greenskins wrecking the place, do you?" Trazyn sneered. "You are, let us remember, the being who caused a mass extinction by utilizing troops with the destroyer madness." "It was different," Orikan said, waving a dismissive hand. "Species come and go. Civilizations rise and fall. I've always known you were mired in the past. Trazyn. But in the last few millennia, you've developed a fetishistic attachment to the present. Serenade gave an opportunity not just to uncover the tomb of Nefereth, but also to understand how cultures unaware of previous civilizations are affected by them. Your unnatural interference. War is natural. Conquest is natural. Revolutionary change is a part of the universe. From evolution to historical epochs. You have become enmeshed in the status quo. A status quo that leaves us trapped in bodies of... Did you come here to debate, Orikan? Shall we raise an overlord as a moderator? Or will that merely let you cheat again? Orikan stopped, collected himself. The destroyers were a mistake, he said, offering a hand. Palm up as if giving the admission as a gift. There, I said it. But I also hold that the destroyers would not have broken into and despoiled the tomb of Nefereth. The orcs will. You have seen this, I suppose, Trazyn said with a drop of acid. He wobbled his head and made nonsensical symbols with his fingers. Meditations. Orikan traced the scratches across the frame with his fingers. Mock me, but I've seen it. Repeatedly for... Go away, Buck. Mock me, but I've seen it. Repeatedly for the last few decades. Not everything I calculate comes to pass, Trazyn, but each time this vision intrudes, it becomes stronger. The Wa is coming. It will destroy the beautiful, the greatest cultural relic of our kind, and both of us will be killed. Whoa! I know ya. We are on page 168. It seems that Orikan is trying to make a temporary truce with Trazyn in order to stop the wall on a planet that is of great significance to both these people. Check the memes in your Discord, it'll make sense later. Okay. Yeah, put that back. There we go. Trazyn snorted. Preposterous. You couldn't get me to go near that planet. Chasing that damn tomb cost me 2 of my best galleries. Too costly. Sniff after ancient legends if you like, but leave me. You're planning to be there when it opens, interrupted Orikan. In 50 years. You even made site visits, several, including one last year. I saw you let you pass unmolested. We have, after all, an informal detonate. Yeah, an informal detonate. Not like, I don't think detonate as an explosion, but yeah. Trazyn's mouth opened, closed. I do not expect Trazyn the Infinite, collector of fine things and rare antiques, to leave a find of such magnitude unexplored, Orikan smiled. Replace intellect, time to read on, the infinite and the divine. Detonate? No, not that. It's DETENTE. Detonate. An informal detonate. But yeah. Trazyn looked down at the Astra Mysterios, as if deciding how much trouble it was worth. Set the night scythe down and kill the engine, he said to the closest Lich Guard. No sense in wasting reactor life. I have your attention then, Orikan said. The Yith Seer also foresaw the green tide, Trazyn answered. Though not in the detail you claim. I have planned to help defend and salvage the tomb, for the sake of posterity. Of course, said Orikan. but you will die there. The underground tunnels where the tomb resides will, due to the world's unique geology, cut off any translation signal. Necrons killed beneath the surface cannot phase out or, in your case, jump to a new host bodies unless they are in line of sight. Death is annoyingly permanent beneath Serenade. So do you have a plan? Naturally. Orikan waved a hand, summoning a cryosphate. Summoning a cryosphase chart showing the swarm of the British. Saw-toothed ships approaching Serenade like a school of carnivorous fish. The Orc Wall is destined to arrive in 50 years, roughly 4 months before the opening of the Astarium. On the whole, they are attacking Serenade because it is there, but they also need its water to cool their ship reactors if they hope to survive warp translation. Orikan shrugged, as if it were a wonder the Greenseeds could puzzle out even the most basic logistical solutions. Fight the brutish fungus brains on the ground and we will fail, he continued. I like all the nicknames for the orcs. They're so funny. The ships will intervene. Every zodiac I've cast says so. Fight them in the sky and we will fail as well. Ground forces already deployed will discover and destroy the tomb. But fight both at once? Orikan swept 2 fingers up the chart, making 2 prongs of Necron tomb ships, elegant crescents compared to lantern-jawed orc craft, spear into the orc's flank. One broke off and headed for the surface. A combined spaceborne raid of their capital ships, followed by one element securing the tomb against the land forces, will succeed. The orcs will break off, kill their leadership structure, and I suspect the red-eyed savages will withdraw and fight among their captains in order to determine who is in charge, thereby diminishing themselves, finished Trazyn. Who is the lucky target? Orikan smiled. Oh, you'll like this part. So-called orc boss Doc Bigsaw, a former medical practitioner of the orcoid variety. A pain boy? Unusual. Well, yes, you would know these things, Orikan said. Apparently, he became war boss through quite nasty self-surgery and augmentation. He is also known, I hear, as the Great Sky Sawer. The Great Sky Sawer. You pronounce Orcish like it tastes bad. It does, said Orikan. I dislike even hearing myself use contractions. So this gibberish doesn't appeal. But linguistic foibles aside, he smiled, he would make a fascinating specimen, don't you agree? I do, said Trazyn, nodding. It will take about 50 years to muster a strike force. We're cutting it close. It will, agreed Orikan. And we are. Once our keels part atmosphere, we will have 3 months. And if we are fortunate, most likely 2. No time to warn the awakened council. They'd bog us down in debate, think it a waste of resources. Or try to get there before us, said Orikan. I say we keep this one to ourselves. And with that, mortal enemies mustered for war. They got together. Every time you think Trazyn has been killed, it reveals that it's only a puppet controlled by Trazyn, and he lives. If canon is to be believed. Oh no, yeah, he can transfer his consciousness into another Necron body. Oh, hi, kitty cat. He can transfer his consciousness into another Necron body, and that Necron body can be morphed into look-alike Trazyn himself. And even then, if he doesn't have a body to transfer himself to, he still has his regeneration process, which will just craft him a new body. Since he is a Necron overlord, he has access to that. So he basically has infinite lives. Truly immortal. The only way for Trazyn to actually die is if he dies beneath the planet of Serenade, the one that they were talking about, because it lacks because the signal can't reach out for body regeneration. Orikan and Trazyn turn into reluctant allies. Yes, it seems that they have formed a temporary truce in order to defeat the orcs, since both of them like this planet. Orikan wishes to go into the Necron tomb, while Trazyn wants to preserve the Orikan treasuries that are held within. As well, this also gives Trazyn a golden opportunity to replenish the orc gallery that was destroyed by the orcs when they got freed by Orikan. Orikan absolutely hates Trazyn. This is true. They hate each other. However, they can come to an agreement when there's something that they both want, and can obviously, I think, because they both realize that if the orcs unleash a wall on this planet, then the things that they want will be destroyed, and both of them know they cannot fully take on a wall by themselves, because a wall is just that annoying. A wall is just annoying to deal with. So they're like, you know what? Let's team up, deal with the wall, and then we'll go back to beating up each other of who gets the stuff on this planet, I feel like that's how that's going to go down. Anyway, we are now on chapter 3. We are on page 71. So we are actually making a pretty decent progress on our way to page 200. Why did they just kiss and write a marriage agreement at this point? Would it turn on the spice level of the to Indian cuisine levels? Maybe. Why do you think I made my title Trazyn the Infinite and Orikan the Diviner a love story? I even made a beautiful thumbnail for this YouTube stream, and it's hilarious. It's an image of SpongeBob choking out Patrick, but I photoshopped Trazyn's face on SpongeBob and Orikan's face on Mr. Krabs. So I say Patrick, I meant to say Mr. Krabs. SpongeBob choking Mr. Krabs. And it is hilarious. I'll probably post it in the Discord later and just title it your average Trazyn and Orikan moment. Anyway, chapter 3. The two ships hit the gravitational well with a slam of deceleration. Oh, we're 3 days before the tomb opening. Okay. Two ships hit the gravitational well with a slam of deceleration, hooking themselves into the moon's orbit and circling it, streaking paths as they bled momentum. To anyone watching, it appeared that Serenade's second moon had suddenly gained 2 white-hot rings. To any world unfortunate enough to experience a Necron invasion, it might seem as if the tomb fleet appeared from nowhere. Great crescent ships Great crescent ships hanging above the curve of the globe. Weapon systems already flaring with their opening fusillade? Yeah, opening fusillade. Firefly swarms of ghost arcs descending to the target continent. Witness on the surface Witnesses on the surface might see bursts of light, too bright to look upon, yet casting no shadow, before the metal death's head reared out of the wan gateway. They rarely saw beyond that, but what appeared instantaneous, coming without warning, like an earthquake or solar flare, was in reality the result of long planning and close management. Mustering the Deathless Legions. Mustering the Deathless Legions and charting a course for war was a multi-decade process, fraught with setbacks. This was partially true in raising a legion from the Great Sleep. Fast deployment from cryostasis was nearly always damaged neural circuitry, which is why any functioning world mind only roused its legions for self-defense. Even then, it usually deployed simple warriors first, those with little mind to ruin, rather than the more valuable immortals, Lichguard, and Deathmarks. Trazyn and Orikan had no wish to permanently damage those they raised, particularly since an action of this size cannot go unnoticed by the Awakened Council. Should vital assets of the Infinite Empire be wasted on a personal quest, even one semi-sanctioned by their body, it was no doubt the Executioner would come for them. After all, the Great Awakening was only a millennia away. Give or take a few centuries, and that effort required all the force their diminished empire could muster. Yet they hurried the process as much as possible. Neither Trazyn nor Orikan had been soldiers, though both had, at times, accompanied the legions. They, therefore, had no compunction. Or is that C silent? Computation. Yeah, the end's probably silent. Therefore, they had no computation, whether it be honor or superstition, about jettisoning the more time-consuming military rituals. There was time for nothing but to muster the Decurion and go. Serenade lacked a dolmen gate or any webway portal. Whatever escape hatch the Exodites built to flee into the labyrinth dimension, they'd closed behind them. Transporting a few small forces, there was no trouble. Send a Night Scythe, as Trazyn had the first time jump through the portal. But deploying a force that could best orcs both in orbit and on the surface? That meant decades of travel through deep space. Or it would have, if not for Orikan and his mastery of the inertialess drive. The Astromancer had called up star charts and celestial grids, prescribed angles in parabolas, sketched a path through the whirling stars that shot them between the gauntlets of orbiting systems, around asteroid belts, and through fields of naval debris, using the gravity of great suns to turn and redirect them without losing too much speed. A lesser astromancer would have stopped or slowed them to turn. Orikan preserved the endless acceleration of void travel. By the end of the first solar cycle of the voyage, the craft moved only 1,000 leagues per hour. But by the end of the first year, they streaked through space 10 times faster than a Night Scythe. After 10 years, they traveled so fast that a mortal pilot would have been unable to control the craft. Their limited reaction times and slow navigational calculations, slamming the craft into a star or overdoing the gentle course of overdoing the gentle course adjustments. I would definitely tell the Silent King if he wants to punish either Orikan or Trazyn, marry them legally to each other with an order to kill the other if his spouse dies, so they had to defend each other till the end of time. That would be hilarious. But I think the Silent King has his own problems in dealing with the Tyranids, because he saw those, which is what made him wake up people early in the first place. And then there's also the Stormlord, who wants to take the Silent King's place, because the Stormlord doesn't see the Silent King to be fit of ruling all of the Necrons. Most cryptechs could not even have done it. Trazyn admitted to himself. When they'd hit Serenade, they'd been going 1 billion leagues an hour. So fast, even a Necron ship could not go full stop without tearing itself apart. Serenade's second moon blurred on the right side of the bridge's hollow screen, and Trazyn looked at the sleek lines of Orikan's ship ahead of them. It was a Scythe-class harvester in Reaper configuration. An odd, spindly, front-heavy class, Trazyn had always thought. Like a cryptech's staff of light hurtled through space, its stern fletched like an arrow. The Sautech consummate? Yeah, the Sautech consummate empire builders had ever loved their ships. Where the Nihilak hoarded treasure, the Sautech amazed military assets. The difference between an inward-looking dynasty and an outward-looking one, Trazyn thought. His fellow Nihilak were conservative, defensive, focused on holding what worlds they had rather than expanding outward. They extracted tributes and looted spoils, of course, but they were less interested in governing new systems than they were about claiming their wealth. Where the Sautech craved domination, the Nihilak nurtured spheres of influence, preferring to extend power through vassal states and tribute rather than military force. That took fleets, but Nihilak flotillas tended to consist of a great number of smaller vessels rather than a few large ones. The better to spread its authority. A simple difference in naval doctrine, neither approach better nor worse. Or perhaps Trazyn was just making excuses, envious of how thoroughly Orikan's ship dwarfed his own Shroud-class light cruiser. It was a full mile longer, though Trazyn contented himself that most of what was due to the long spinal vein that stretched an arrow's shaft to the fletched stern assembly. Trazyn had his reasons for choosing the Shroud, of course. It was his personal craft, first off, which made its interior comfortable. And he liked that it was fast and quiet, able to run silent past most threats. And not being a military type himself, Trazyn feared a full battlecruiser might prove too much ship for him. But damn the shattered gods, he was still an overlord. And being shown up by some jumped up court magician bruised the only thing of his that could be bruised, his pride. Bro was jealous. Trazyn was jealous of Orikan's ship, which is hilarious. Achieving navigable speed, Overlord, intoned the helmsman of the Lord of Antiquity. Trazyn waved a hand at the crewman's head to open his thoughts. He scrolled through the mental data feed, watching the deceleration calculations spiral down, satisfied himself that it was being done well. Any sign of the orcoids? He asked. Scry image cast to command throne's projector, Overlord. Enhanced to factor of 1000. The chrysophase projector in his throne arm shimmered, beaming a holographic model in the air. Trazyn leaned down, using his hand to rotate the display. Rotate's not even a word, excuse me? A chrysophase projector in his throne arm oh, never mind. I'm reading the same paragraph. Trazyn mused. Hail the Zodiac's fury. From such a distance, the images were less than distinct, but they were clear enough to see that the orc fleet was massive. A dozen large vessels, bulbous and lantern-jawed, shoaled around the planet like the scavengers they were. Most were escort-sized or smaller. Their whole silhouettes bizarre on account of continual reworking and modification. Strange leg-like stalks, perhaps void elevators, stretched from several vessels to the planet's surface. One kill cruiser, larger than the others, stood so close to the planet's atmosphere that it seemed as if it might fall in. No prize, Trazyn thought, for guessing which was the war boss ship. Hail accepted, my lord, said the signalman. Signalman. Projecting. Orikan appeared in hard light, patches of him flickering and going out to signal the wave. Patches of him flickering and going out as the signal wavered. He floated in the air, only slightly smaller than normal, legs crossed and hands woven into a symbol of power. 12 ships, Trazyn chided. Didn't you predict 7? Orikan bristled, causing the hood of his headpiece to flare outward. The orcs are difficult to foresee. They travel the empty rain, shift the very weave of reality around them. It's not important. Trazyn cut him off. Our strategy remains the same, I suppose? Yes, responded Orikan. We hit them hard and fast, cripple them with the initial assault. Then, as I engage the large ship and kill the boss Big Saw, you locate and secure the tomb with defensive action. Just remember, Astromancer, Trazyn said, I will have the Astarum with me down there. Yes. So, if you leave me stranded, it will be lost. And such an eventuality, my captain will turn his guns on the Zodiac's fury. And you cannot open the tomb without my equation, said Orikan. And you should try. I have the batteries and ground forces to make you quite regret it. I need no reminder that we each have a phase blade to each other's throat. Very well, Trazyn nodded, provided we understand each other. Orikan gave a dust-dry cackle. Not crackle. Little hope of that, Archivist, but our accord is sealed. Transmitting attack vectors to the Antiquity now. An interstitial data packet appeared on Trazyn's command throne, and he flicked a finger, casting it to the main holo screen. It dominated the display, overlaying the image of the Zodiac's fletched stern to show the first curving tack towards the orcs. In one corner of the holo screen, a tactical chart showed the planned course of a simplified map. One thing, Orikan. What are these? Trazyn paused, sketching a finger along the preposterous linking the ships on surface. These things? I suppose we will find out, will we not? Orikan said. Prepare your first turn on my order. 3. Trazyn saw the Zodiac's Fury pivot like a boat, sliding up to a quay. Its constellation of hull lights flaring as the main reactor juiced extra power into his network of conduits and surface conduits. Oh, and surface circuits, not conduits, my bad. Two. Orikan's voice crackled out of the hologram. The Zodiac slid by the holoscreen, and the bridge of the antiquity shivered as the hazy discharge of the bigger ship's intertialist drive washed over it. 1, said Orikan. Turn, ordered Trazyn, and smiled at the predatory dip of hologram Orikan's head. I'm sorry, this ship only responds to the ranking overlord. You're not an overlord, as far as I'm aware. Are you, Orikan? Keep to the charted course, Orikan said, voice tight with annoyance, and your arc batteries pointed away from me. The hologram winked out. Trazyn chuckled, his laughter rising, becoming more throaty, echoing off the walls of the cavernous bridge. Deciding he didn't like the lonely sound, he waved a hand and the bridge crew, hardwired into instrument cartouches and command cradles. Howley laughed along with him. Yes, as Orikan said, they had a blade to each other's throats. But the stargazing fool didn't know that Trazyn also had a knife in the other hand, ready to plunge into the astromancer's belly. Silence ruled the command deck of the Zodiac's Fury. Orikan preferred it that way. Better to preserve his navigational trances and tactical divinations. Instead of a command throne, he liked to sit floating in a repulsor field, surrounded by glowing Phos holograms celestial charts, the spiraling predestination modules, and damage reports. A spider lurking in a luminescent web. Just kiss already. The suspense is killing me, honestly. No one was to speak to him. Not the bridge crew, not the captain. All orders came through interstitial command. A thought network of instantaneous feedback that chained through the entire ship's complement. The chain radiated out of... No, not radiated. Oh, the chain radiated out from Orikan to the bridge crew, to the operational sections, all the way down to the strike fighter pilots, already positioned at the hangar bay doors. Orikan mimicked breathing to keep time, maintain focus. They were moving fast, 500 leagues per hour, approaching the first sawtooth glyph on his tactical map. In his deep well of mind, he scried through the oculars of the fire control officer and saw the first orc ship approach, a dot of blackness off their starboard side, growing larger. Charge a lightning arc array, he ordered. Billowing auras rippled and collected in the hollow of the ship's crescent-shaped bow, A cloud of ambient solar energy pulled from the void and squeezed into a star-bright point. Any other species, even the Eldari, would consider this a technical miracle. But to Orikan, it was no more incredible. But to Orikan, it was no more incredible than melting lead into bullets. Target in range, Lord. Orikan let the Zodiac close with the orc vessel. He held fire. Small objects began to bounce off the living metal of the Zodiac's prow. They were not shots. As far as Orikan knew, the little orc cruiser was still unaware of the Necron ship bearing down on it. The Zodiac had entered the debris field that hailed every green-skinned ship. A loose shower of screws, scrap, and ejected waste that floated off the ramshackle vessels even when they sat at orbital anchor. Okay, we got a 3-minute ad break here in soon. Orikan scanned thermal readouts? Yeah. Orikan scanned thermal readouts, finding the heat plumes of the orc's vessel's propulsion systems, and confirmed it was not bombarding them with any sensors. The Zodiac collided with a piece of ambient hull plating the size of a bomber. It skipped along the necrodermis and went spinning into space like a coin. Fire! The sunspot collecting in the hollow of the Zodiac's crescent bow leapt at the cruiser. Lightning bolts danced and crawled, touched its metal surface, and quested for weak points. Promethium tanks boiled to the outside of the ship's hull, ruptured in pressurized bursts. Chemical components breaking up flameless in the oxygen-starved void. Absorbed in his chart, Orikan had traced his fingers towards the largest vent plume on the cruiser's spine. Grunting, he followed 20% of his consciousness down into the bridge's circuitry. Why am I struggling with the word circuitry? Excuse me? He flowed 20% of his consciousness down into the bridge circuitry and raced his way through the ship. He zipped and turned, following the power cables, running hot past the boarding parties, preparing in the translation chamber, the engine keepers nursing the huge reactor drive, pouring a portion of his consciousness into the gunner cryptech, manning the arc battery. The being was slow, malfunctioning, still, stiff, from 60 million years of sleep. Idiot, he growled through the cryptech's lips, and ran his fingers over the arc battery's control orb. Watch as a tendril of emerald electricity probed like a questing figure towards the main smokestack, dipped inside. With the cryptech's other hand, Orikan locked the arc's end, cycled up the power. The lightning arcs gathered and joined the first, eager as if hungry. Bright flashes shone through the triangular portholes of the cruiser's bridge. They frosted with smoke, then blew outwards. The ship's interior oxygen soon burning off so that the pillars of flame boiling at the vessel's eye sockets quickly retreated. There, that's how you do it, said Orikan, raising the gun officer's puppeteered hand and using it to spike the cryptex across his own lean jaw. Do not make me come down here again. In the bridge, the rest of Orikan's consciousness watched the cruiser heel over and come apart at mid deck. One down. No fight in them. He scanned for life signs and found only a few hundred. He opened a hailing channel. Trazyn, he signaled, watching the antiquity come up low on its port side, matching his speed. Confirm a life from reading on that cruiser for me. A few hundred. That's abnormal, Orikan said, hoping it did not sound like a question. I don't know much about orcs. Do you, Astromancer? It's not only my business to know specifics of every barbarian culture and alien oddly, he snapped. It is it abnormal or not? Trazyn chuckled. Oh, okay. The ad break's about to start, so we'll just stop right there. Yeah, so it seems that Orikan blew up an orc ship, and it seems like there's not enough people on there. In a sense that whatchamacallit. He thinks there should be more orcs on there. He doesn't think he finds it odd that there's only like 100. Ugh. But yeah, we're fighting orcs. We're actually getting into a good battle. I hope he can give the orcs a good fight, because that would be pretty nice and very kind of him to give the orcs a good fight. Alrighty, the 3-minute ad break has started. Oh, that's pretty good. I've been interested in getting into Magic the Gathering. I actually do have some cards right here in front of me. They're from the Tarkir Dragonstorm set. I was hoping to build like a full-on commander deck, because I feel like playing Magic would be pretty cool. But I need some friends to play it with me. I can maybe convince Ollie. He said he used to play but doesn't anymore. He mainly plays like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've been noticing him also pulling Pokemon cards, but maybe I can convince him. Maybe I can convince him to gather the magic once more. That might be pretty funny. That might be pretty nice. Where was I from last time though? Oh yeah. Tomorrow's stream. That one's gonna be a fun one. Me and Jordan, we're gonna hate each other even more by the end of it, but you know what? It's gonna be great. We're gonna have a fun time. We're gonna have a fun and amazing time going at each other's throats and all that other good stuff in carrying the glass in hard mode and trying to get the rest of the achievements. Ah, look at that. Okay, the ad break is almost over. I'm gonna be honest. I think I kind of woke up from reading the book, which it feels kind of odd to me because I totally thought I was just gonna be like, falling asleep. But it turns out I didn't fall asleep, which, is good. Good for me. for not falling asleep. All right, the ad break is over. Achievements, yeah, achievements on carrying the glass. Yeah, achievements on carrying the glass. It's one of those rage co-op games. Me and Jordan played it before. There's a whole video on it on the YouTube channel. And then me and Jordan are going to play it again, but this time we're going to play in hard mode because that's one of the achievements, to beat it on hard mode. And you know Jordan, he loves his achievements. But yeah, okay, let's get back to reading the Infinite and Divine. We are on page 80, so we are coming close to page 200. That sounds like fun. Oh, it's definitely gonna be fun. Maybe turn that stream into a YouTube video, but we'll see. I hope to, though, because that'll be nice. But all right, let us continue reading the Infinite and the Divine. Okay. In Orikan, a few hundred. Ah, okay, here we go. Trazyn chuckled. Relishing, knowing something that Orikan did not. The orcs stuffed their craft bulkhead to bulkhead below one part, and they're likely to see more green flesh in the debris field than metal. No, we likely detonated a cruiser full of Gretchen. What? It's an invasion. The real orcs are down on the surface. Pick up your scanning. Half of these vessels are empty. Orikan looked at the mob of ships growing large in his forward holoscreen. Finally, a plan that was going right. And that's when the dazzle of an interstitial alert flashed across his vision. Incoming. The Zodiac rocked. The bridge crew jiggling in their command cradles and floor mounts as a rocket-propelled shell the size of a monolith crashed into the prow. Excuse me. Orikan drew up a scry view and saw an enormous crater in the starboard crescent wing. Ships of ghostly energy trailed from the black end. Cauterized wound, reminding Orikan of a temple incense burner. Cauterized. That's how you spell that word. Okay. Already crackling energy wormed its way along the edges. Atoms realigned, reformed, creating a lattice structure. In the exposed decks, he could see repair race firing particle beamers, refueling the lattice work structure with healing necrodermis. Living metal that which remained functional flowed and shimmered back into fill the gaps. Debris ejected from the wound tumbled back into place as if it were a mnemonic file running in reverse. Ahead, Orikan saw flashes dancing along the line of the orc ships. It was no longer an ambush. It was a battle. Orc fire came in curtains, like a monsoon rain, punching, strobing, howling. Shells the size of battle tanks, dazzling blue light beams like plinking impacts on the Antiquity's forward shields. Trazyn swore were Shuda slugs. That was how the orcs did it. No target priority or fire control. Just unleash everything in a wall of ordnance. It was so much about avoiding fire, it was about... No, it wasn't so much about avoiding fire, it was about avoiding the heavy guns and beam weapons. Orikan, he signaled. Drive straight at them. Present the nearest silhouette. Vector up and down to create a moving target. Orikan's hologram juddered and flashed as the Zodiac took another hit. Suddenly, the great void Nemesaur, are we? I have two cruisers. I have two cruisers and a bridge section from an orc rocking from it. I have two cruisers and a orc bridge section from an orc rock in gallery. From an orc rock in the gallery. Trust me, their targeting systems aren't up to snuff, especially at range. They'll lose patience and clone on us. They'll lose patience and close on us to ram and board. So you want to continue straight at them? Brilliant stratagem. We need them to break off so I can land. If we run, they won't chase us. But if we charge, we can get them to turn and commit. But they're big rocket engines for us. But they're big rocket engines for us, so they can't slow or maneuver. Then we dive under and score their bellies. So you want to continue straight? No, reread that. Silence. Orikan's hologram floated, unmoving. Orikan? Divinatory algorithms predict a 62 out of 100 chances of success. Not bad. It's the best scenario I've run, giving a failed ambush. Very well, Trazyn. Zodiac's Fury... excuse me. Zodiac's Fury, turning prow on and increasing speed. Randomized vector grid. Stars save us. The hologram blinked out, and Trazyn turned to the divinations divinations officer, slowing his chronosense and speeding his information packs so that the conversation passed within a half a second. Are you tracking incoming? Yes, Overlord. She was a cryptech. Implanted in a small armillary. Yeah. Implanted in why did I say small? Where did I read small? Whatever. Implanted in an armillary sphere, command cradle that rotated her around the globe of phosglyph panels and surrounded her. 4 hands played over her growling center suite. Void tiles dangled from the sides of her metal skull like earrings. Scrying 19,000 plus objects, 12,000 of those on course for the Zodiac. Okay, I'm gonna have to... I'll be right back. I gotta blow my nose. My nose is itchy. I'll be right back. Alrighty. It feels good to breathe out the nose. Am I right, fellas? Always feels super nice to breathe out the nose. Okay. Yoink. The antiquity shivered as an orchid that looked as if it might pass over them suddenly plunged jackknife crazy into their path. It detonated against the forward shield, bathing the ship's port side front arc in the fire that boiled and died outside the protective emerald shell. New screenshot for Kingdom Hearts 4. Oh, orcs always shoot the bigger one, Trazyn said. Indeed, Lord. Our incoming includes 262 objects of damaging strength or greater. Torpedoes, high yield shells, rockets, energy beams of unknown composition. 64% of those are disabling strength. 21% will destroy the antiquity in 1 or 2 more strikes. Transmit to helm. Helmsman, steer us true. Prioritize weaving around the biggest ones. Drive through the medium yield ordnance if necessary. Technologos. Aye, Lord. Shield priority forward and topside. Match their angle of deflection. Weapons? Ready for orders. Find me a damned firing solution. Here he pointed a long, pittered finger at one of the brutal fish-like craft. Close enough now that they could see its blue paint job. On that one, the bulbous crate making the slovenly turn. The transport? The weapons officer said, wanting confirmation. It's not the transport, Trazyn said, a wicked tone in his voice. It's a torpedo boat. Zodiac's fury rocked with another impact. One of his forklift panels strobed until he sketched the sign of Hept to stabilize it. A damn torpedo this time. A prejudiced one. Orikan had vectored up and it passed below them. The faulty timer going off just under behind their stern assembly so that the Zodiac pitched forward on its nose like a diving raptor. The blast drove its topside shield directly into a blizzard of mind-sized shells and shorted it, allowing one to detonate against the middle spine column. The haft of his staff-like vessel that connected the prow module to the navigational fins at the stern. Red damage reports filled his vision. He scried into the head of a repair wraith and saw the necrodermis of the whole column shredded like a snapped twig, still held together by bark. The tail assembly wobbled precariously. The tail assembly wobbled precariously, wandering out of the teardrop-shaped shield that surrounded the craft. How would you look at that? Hello there, Mr. Bot. Goodbye there, Mr. Bot. Orikan snapped back, dismissing warnings from his cultured sphere of information. As soon as he swept away a damaged report, a hologram appeared to replace it. Everything all right, Orikan? There. Orikan grabbed the doll-like projection of Trazyn and tossed it away. He was being too detailed, plotting too many eventualities. Flying this ship with
with his head rather than by instinct, trying to calculate every move, being too perfect, trying to avoid every obstacle rather than take some hits. Deploy extra wraiths to spine column, he sent. Helm leveled out. A new evasive pattern. Algorithmic flight pattern sent to. The bridge shuddered with another hit. Orikan, Trazyn said, hologram reappearing. They're turning to face. He looked up. A stray rocket streaked above, but the hail of shot was slackening. Indeed, 5 of the big cruisers had come about. Orikan saw their furious, triangular eyes staring at him behind the thinning swarm of the fire-bright torpedoes and glowing reactor shells. Incoming torpedoes, said Trazyn. I read life forms aboard. Boarders. Thread them, Orikan ordered the helmsman, and by the dead gods, get that spine array locked down. He gathered his fragmented consciousness, split between too many places throughout the ship's network as he tried to manage the battle single-handed. Trazyn, our ships are without atmosphere, unpressurized, Orikan said. Do orcs breathe? A pause. They have lungs. Prepare to repel boarders, Orikan signaled, in case. This is a good question. Do orcs breathe? I mean, yes, they have lungs, obviously, but they could survive without a lot of their internals. For the shockingly amount they could survive, since they are technically just plants. The culture of the orcs had always fascinated Trazyn. Consider, after all, the madness of a social structure that would make beings not only willing, but eager to climb into a faulty torpedo and be fired between 2 moving ships. These things could, theoretically, steer towards a target, but when he'd taken samples, he found that the controls were usually decorative. It gave the orc boys the opportunity to feel like they were doing something. But more often than not, the torpedo's helm controls weren't connected to anything. On top of that, the things had a limited fuel payload, meaning that if they missed, the tube of tight-packed greenskins had few options. This close to orbit, a few might get captured by the gravity well and, after a few weeks, succumb to orbital decay and immolate upon atmospheric entry. Those that shot out into the void itself would, he assumed, for a brief micro society? Yeah. From a brief micro society primarily centered around brawling and cannibalism. These incoming boarders would not have that problem, of course. Trazyn would make sure of that. Fire array. Sheets of energy lance towards the incoming hornet storm of torpedoes. They popped one after another, like firecrackers, bursting in their concerns and spilling green bodies that sizzled on the Antiquity's forward shield. One careened away, a glancing lick of electricity, shorting its drive system and turning it into so much space junk. Orcs began clambering out of its side hatch, jetpacks flaring as they pushed off the surface of the torpedo and winged slugga shots of the Antiquity. A night scythe swooped in and atomized the stricken craft, taking its crew with it. At his flight officer's recommendation, Trazyn had deployed the scythes to create a screen. A screen once on it was clear. The cruisers were deploying small craft. Half the Antiquity's squadron was running interference on the Zodiac's weakened topside shield, the hit on its spine having grounded the ship's own fighters. Trazyn could see the Orc fleet nearing Sawtooth Jaws, clearly visible without enhancement now. Swarms of void-proofed fighter-bombers aligned from the sides of the ramshackle craft. Trazyn swore that one cruiser had opened its fighter bays by blowing the explosive bolts on several huge panels, dropping the panels of hull plattering astern like flower petals. An alert plastered his vision, accompanied by an obnoxious trilling noise. Hull breach in aft engine temple. Starboard side. Organic life forms detected. Void dragon and gnaw their entrails, Trazyn snarled. So one did get through. Warriors, give them a welcome. No need to overdo it. Do not damage the ship. That's one chamber away from our reactor. Hopefully the warriors would be enough. He'd rather send the more reliable immortals, but those were all second for the landings. Boarding a Necron vessel was foolhardy. For one thing, excuse me. For one thing, as Orikan had pointed out, the atmosphere was no different than the void outside. No need for life support. The interiors were airless, unpressurized, and freezing. Would that matter to an orc? Trazyn did not know. They're closing, said Orikan, his hologram wavering. Wait for it, said Trazyn. If they don't fire their ram rockets, they'll still be able to maneuver and... As if called, the ram thruster on the orc kill cruiser lit. The concussion of it nudging escort vessels aside, scorching their blue hull paint black with the heat wash. It screamed towards them, engine forming the craft in the corona of flame. Alongside, 4 smaller cruisers fired up their own ram rockets and peeled off after their flagship. Are you prepared to vector down, Orikan? Charging weapons. Vector on a count of 3, said the astromancer. He sounded distracted and stressed. 1, 2, Trazyn answered. The Orc Armada loomed huge on the holo screen, their courses already wavering with the uncontrolled burn. 2 cruisers drifted dangerously close to the other. In the bottom of the screen, the Antiquity's lighting arc gathered another crackling electrostorm. 3, they counted together. Inertialist drives fired upward, dropping the two sicklecraft down under the brutish enemy vessels. It was close. So close that the image of the huge cruiser plummeting towards them reached down to a subconscious instinct from the times of flesh. And Trazyn found himself wanting to duck. A longship aerial emerging from the bottom of one cruiser hit the portside wing and scraped along it before breaking off. Two of the orcs, it must have looked like their quarry had disappeared. Fire, ordered Trazyn. Coiling energy flashed upward as they sailed under the orc vessels, scoring their bellies. Liquefied metal pattered onto the Antiquity. Roppy globules that trembled, formless in the void of space. On contact with the cold hull, the metal froze in puddles. Keep firing. Focus on the torpedo boat. He swung the hollow screen's vision arc to starboard to watch Orikan's progress. The screen widened out, unable to handle the energy discharge it was witnessing. Then added filters to bring the scry image back into focus. The Zodiac's Fury had fired its particle whip directly into the belly of the kill cruiser. At long range, it would have lived up to its name, snapping out in great coiling arcs like a herdsman. Wait, like a herdsman slash? Okay. Great colliding arcs like a herdsman slash. Okay. Splitting the air with a crack that could rupture a mortal's eardrums. When I say eardermis, what even is eardermis? Hello? No, eardrums. Reading is hard, guys. Stay in school. But at this range, and in the silence of space, it was like a curved knife. It sank deep into the flagship's belly and dragged along the hull. Orange sparks, showers of molten metal and superheated matter blew from the long slice as Orikan's ship carved a quarter of the way down its length. A few more seconds, it would slit the Orc flagship front to back like a fish. It might have even torn through the cruiser in two, except that at that exact moment, the torpedo boat Trazyn was scoring went up. There may have been a warning rumble, but if there had been, it was swallowed by the airless, soulless void. Trazyn guessed it was Trazyn guessed it was a munitions detonation, which had, after all, been his object in targeting it. Orcs had rarely any compunction. She knows. Why's my nose so itchy every time I read? I must be allergic. Allergic to books. I'm allergic to reading. Orcs rarely had any compunction. Compunction? Orcs had rarely had any compunction about proper ordnance storage, and regularly kept ammunition next to fuel sources and vice versa. Perhaps a crude orcoid version of a fusion reactor. The dream of a particularly insane talented mech had overloaded and gone critical. All Trazyn knew was that the torpedo boat simply exploded. Its rushing energy wave so powerful that it outran and incinerated? Yeah. So powerful that it outran and incinerated any debris and drove the antiquity downward. Its overtaxed shields shimmering a weak shade of yellow that tinted the sense of destruction. Scene of destruction, not sense. Scene of destruction. The energy wave broke the formation, scattering the orc ships, tumbling them this way and that like tiny sailcraft in a storm. The Zodiac took the hit on its portside shield, and a good thing too, since with its top shield weakened, the blast might have severely damaged the Big Harvest ship. But the kill cruiser, stricken and seconds from void death, took the blast full force on its starboard side. The shock wave shoved it sideways through space, rolling it off the impaling beam of the particle whip, saving it. Trazyn, howled Orikan. You Trazyn, howled Orikan. You hunchback old meddler. I had him. We could have finished it. Trazyn wasn't listening. He was getting his own alerts. Lord, warned the cryptech man. Lord, warned the cryptech manning the Techno Logos panel. Boarders are forcing the aft engine temple gateway. Engine guardians report weapon discharges and the Trazyn was already gone, his consciousness flashing out of the body of the captain he'd used as a surrogate. Down through the circuitry paths of the flagship, feeling the hum and throb of the pentareactor grow stronger as he neared the aft engine temple, tasting the radiation as he rushed closer. Ah, we're on page 90 now. We got 10 more pages, baby. We got this. Yo, we got this. We got this. We got this. We got this. We're getting there. Oh, big stretch. Big stretch. Oh, don't drop the book now. Ooh. When he flowed into the Lich Guard's body, he found himself face to snout with an orc. He fended it off with the haft of a war scythe, pulling and wrestling as the call used green hands tried to tear it from his grip. The beast howled with the elation? Yeah, the beast howled with the elation of slaughter. Betty eyes stared through flight goggles, its thick tongue lulled against Trazyn's death mask. Trazyn kept a collection of intricate combat manuals, drill books for Necrontyr scythe and phase sword, each illustration demonstrating the beautiful efficiency of the ancient blade masters. The proper method to accomplish the Quesikin, the strike that disembowels and decapitates. How to use face sword and shield to disarm the opponent with Necanthal's blade trap. Oh, there it is. I lost myself here. I found it. Okay. Stances for honor duels, for hunting, for war. None of them contained the move he did then. He was not a duelist, a hunter, or a warrior. What he was a monster. Trazyn slammed his head forward, shattering the orc's septum. Finger-thick tusks scraped his face as the orc tried to bite him, but they slid off with an unpleasant screech of bone on metal. The orc was dead, skull crushed and forebrain mashed to jelly. The biting had been a post-mortem reflex. Trazyn shoved the orc away, speared its floating body with the war scythe, then ripped the blade outward to bury it in another greenskin's throat. Green blood, dark globular, spurted in the gravity-free air. Only then did Trazyn have enough space for his perception suite to take stock. Above him, the cyclopedian vaults and impossible angles. He could see burning trails of orc flying and twisting in the reactor chamber. Huge rockets strapped to their backs and belched flame and oily smoke. Some were repurposed pulse jet engines from land speeders. One was the booster from an Imperial torpedo. Another, most alarmingly, seemed to be a hunter-killer-like missile with its warhead still attached. Storm boys. They weaved about in the wild corkscrews and diving feats. and diving veins. More concerned with the delirious joy of fighting in zero gravity than causing irreversible reactor damage. But even so, there were few things in the galaxy more dangerous than an orc having fun. Trazyn saw two fall upon a Necron that was maglocked to the bulkhead. The ancient warrior's attention diverted by a third Stormboy. The pair hacked and sawed at the warrior with their chain blades, grabbing limbs and yanking his body back and forth between them as it tore apart with a flaring light. The warrior phased and disappeared, ready to be reanimated in the vessel's rebuilding crypts. And the slighted orcs, annoyed at their truncated fun, swung at each other a few times before rocketing elsewhere to find new prey. The squig fur collars of their jackets floating eerily in zero gravity. Killing them would, of course, be the wisest thing to do. But they were fascinating. The adopted human clothing, rough organization, and chain of command. Oh well, if he found something better, he could always start over. Trazyn summoned the stasis beam and reached for an empty Tesseract labyrinth. Orikan burned the Zodiac's engineers, trying to disengage and get a better angle. He held the antiquity again. Trazyn! Answer me, you malfunctioning imbecile. Funny. He saw an alert, rolled the Zodiac over and down, deploying a comet tail of flickering dimensional matter that drew the heat-seeking rockets away to explode harmlessly behind the stern. The orc craft were clumsy and wounded, but they were many and the Necron vessels few. And they were all beaming to reorient. And they were beaming to reorient themselves after the torpedo boat's detonation. Predictably, they were on him like a death shroud, fixated on the Zodiac as the larger, more dangerous target. It made sense in a twisted way. When the Pharaons struck out on their great hunts, they chose the largest. Furcrest? Yeah. Fearsent? No, Fearcest. No, not fire. Fiercest! That's what the word is. Fiercest game as their quarry. The point was not to bring home the largest measure of meat or even the best furs, but for honor, boasting rights that they'd killed the best with the sharpest fangs and largest bulk, an implicit declaration that they were the most powerful. This was no different. Necrons, orcs, power was power. Dead gods. He'd been interacting with Trazyn too much. These were savages, and he would deal with them as such. Charge the speculator, he ordered. It is time to show these barbarians the terror of civilization. Trazyn's consciousness poured back into the captain, bending her metal frame and twisting it to his specifications. Report. Cutting hard towards Serenade, Overlord, responded the divinations officer from her illuminated bubble of data. 2 orc vessels in pursuit, 1 cruiser, 1 escort ship. In your absence, the captain ordered a hard turn and evasive parabolas. Recommended we target the escort. The escort? She said we could outrun the cruiser, but two could maneuver to ensnare us. Our priority is to chart the atmospheric skim and deploy the strike force, then play vermin and serpent with the orc forces. Draw them away from the Zodiac. Well, it seems Captain Zakara has it well in hand. We do try to get the best. Nihilak Ascendant, intoned the divination officer, and wheeled to address the incoming scatterplots of orc engine pulses versus thrust rate. Orikan, Trazyn said, opening a hail. I'm descending to the translation crypt. My crew would take Antiquity into an orbital run and release the strike force, then return to assist. Useless oaf. I had him. The battle could have been over in hours, and now the Antiquity will be there soon, Astromancer. But I really must get to the translation crypt. First beam fires in 2 minutes. Your ship had better return, Trazyn, or I will send the stars themselves to burn you. I will call the primordial forces of the deep space to rip every limb from... Trazyn cut the communication. Classic Trazyn. You heard our esteemed ally, bridge crew. Straighten the translation in Night Scythe launches. Divine a course back to assist Lord Orikan. Aye, Overlord. They intone as one. But just one firing pass, eh? After that, evade to the far side of the third moon. He smiled. Lord Orikan can fight his own battles. Alrighty, Chapter 4. Settlement Plaza, Serenade City. It seems good old Orikan has made his way down into here. Right. And we have 5 more pages left to read. We're doing great. They were pipes. League upon league of pipes. Just before Trazyn stepped into the translation portal, he'd scried through the oculars of a night scythe reconnaissance pilot. Better to get visuals on the ground when one was stepping into a combat zone. What he saw intrigued him. Each proboscis reaching from ship to planet was a pipe. They were huge, each the width of a small house, made out of flexible plastic and woven fiber. Sorry. Durable, but still able to bend. Some sections were brass torn from some uncomfortable city's sewer system. The mad collection of houses and pipes fed into the bellies of big orc cargo lighters hanging just below the atmosphere. Everywhere, boxy lifter craft, buzzing and snapping with barely contained energies, dropping what appeared to be huge nets into the sea. Flaring nodes turned the green water a vibrant blue. Then it collapsed onto itself. Reduced to steam. No, not reduced to steam, Trazyn realized. Stolen. The buzzing, glowing nodes on the nets were teleporters. Up in orbit, the belly of the great cargo ships, it was raining seawater. They were drinking the oceans. Already, Serenade's sea levels were dropping. Ironic, since he'd previously calculated that the burning of its rainforests had helped to melt the planet's ice caps, raising the sea level roughly 6 ket. It mattered little. Once the Necrons landed in force, this would be a dead world. He stepped through the rippling emerald skin of the ship's portal and touched ground. The air around him smoking from the discharge of the translation. Around him was chaos. The closest point to the tomb, as far as he could tell, was the main plaza in Serenade City. He looked around to get his bearings. Trazyn had seen colony worlds many times. It was that rough and tumble transition phase between settlement and dominance. And where most of the territory remained frontier and the humans clung to forts and outposts. One or two might grow above the size of a town, but even these tended to be modest. Serenade City sprawled near the island's port, a collection of pink 2 and 3 sorcery buildings. Built from blocks of coral quarried from inshore reefs, the houses rose up the slope in village-like clusters, each with garden and supplement nutrition. High trees sprouted between the buildings, giving shade and rustling in the breeze. Not giving the shade. Wide verandas and salted wooden doors spoke of a world where power generation remained sporadic, and instead of relying on hab conditioners, the populace would need to harness the trade winds to fight off the balmy humidity. Their roofs, carved wooden eaves supporting red tile baked from the iron-rich island soil, gleamed in the sun. Settlement Plaza, like all colonial plazas, contained a group of prefabricated buildings, likely brought in the first craft. The basilica? Yeah, a basilica of God Emperor's Ascension, a governor's palace, an administratum office, and a barracks. There was nothing special about it, apart from the carved coral facades and the fact that 5 roads met in the plaza rather than the usual 4. That, of course, and that the administratum's office was on fire, curls of licking flame fanning out of the windows and threatening the buildings next door. Then there was the screaming. Trazyn stood behind a statue of an imperial martyr and took stock. Orcs were already in the square, big frames hounding after the civilians, who screamed and clutched belongings, fleeing uphill. One grabbed a woman with a meaty hand and popped open its jaws wide to admit the struggling civilian's whole head. Dang. That's crazy. He might have imagined it too, if the last bolt hadn't popped his skull open. The orc dropped the woman, felt his ruined skull capped with questioning fingers, probing the brain matter still inside his cranium. Bellowing, he rushed towards the barracks where the shot had originated, both enraged and sensing a better fight. Trazyn enhanced the image. A platoon of Serenade Frontier Rifles, a militia regiment of faded uniforms and nicked helmets, had clapped themselves inside the barracks, covering the downhill approaches from firing silts in hardened positions. Orcs surged up through the avenue leading to the port, waving choppas and suddenly chain blades, peppering the plasteel bunker with a variety of weapons that dazzled even Trazyn's knowledge database. A quad-linked multi-laser answered them, straubing fire from bunker into the orchid throng. scything through them in a tumble of fallen heads and cauterized limbs. Whoopsie. The greenskins did not stop, as bodies simply climbed over them, howling with the light that his hardpoint was putting up such a good fight. Their bodies stacking up in front of the mass fire of the bunker, mounting onto a convenient ramp those behind could use to reach the firing slits. Oh, 3-minute ad break is starting soon. Trazyn turned away, drew out the Mysteriosus. They were close. The object vibrated in his hands, and he patted it like a small animal. Orikan seemed to believe that the Mysterios had a kind of resonance with Serenade. At least that's what Trazyn had found through the years of infiltrating the Seer's cryptech circle. As Orikan worked, Trazyn watched. Indeed, the Astromancer had felt safe turning the Mysterios over to Trazyn, since he known it was useless without his algebraic incantation. But Trazyn had to watch them practice the phrase over and over and over. Orikan was, after all, so very thorough. Trazyn spoke to the puzzle box, pored over the map it projected. This was the spot indicated, but it also was not good enough. Orikan said the opening point would be immediately below the plaza, ascended via a volcanic cave, but the world's unique geology was impervious to their sensors, making it impossible to bombard the surface with spectromancy and discover the entrance. A ground scan would, they assumed, be better. Stand, he called. The cryptic appeared at his soldier in a sequel of rending spacetime. Lord, shall I signal the phalanx? Cast divinatory scry, he said. He noticed Sanet was looking around, curious. Focus, loyal retainer. Yes, master. I apologize. It has been a long while since I have left Solomon's. Find the entrance. He turned to the scene playing out before him, watching as an orc boy gained the multi-laser's firing slit and unloaded a huge slugger into it point blank. In the sky, a pencil sketch line arced overhead. Its parabola terminating in a secret upslope. Yeah, in a street upslope from the bunker. Pink houses erupted in flame. Splinters of their carved wooden eaves spinning out to embed themselves into earth. Trees and neighboring buildings. Trazyn looked out to sea and saw a great object treading its way through the turf. Lord Archivist, said Sanet, I have located the most likely ingress point to the crypt vault. It is out on fringing reef, past the drop-off to the abyssal floor. All right, that is page 200. We have reached page 200. It seems that Trazyn has, with the help of his loyal retainer, located what they were looking for, which is fantastic. And it seems that there's also like humans on here as well, like human settlement. So that is very interesting. Okay. Yeah, so that is very, very interesting, seeing that the humans are fighting the orcs as well. Though I think Trazyn cares very, very little for said humans actually fighting. So he really just doesn't care. He's just going to go about his business. But it's still funny. Even within this battle, he is still trolling Orikan the Diviner, which I find very amusing. But we will see if Trazyn is able to open the vault himself, considering that he's been spying on Orikan. Yeah, considering that he's been spying on Orikan and learning the incantation himself. But that is going to have to be for next week, or we have reached our 3-hour mark. So with that being said, please be sure to tune into tomorrow's stream where me and Jordan play Carry the Glass on hard mode in an attempt to complete that and yoink ourselves the achievement. As well as go look at the video that's on the YouTube channel. You know, I posted a new one like yesterday, so that'd be greatly appreciated. And yeah, that's gonna have to be it for stream. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.